not a good thing.
Oh my gosh. Welcome to the Soul Tapes podcast. My name is Adam Cruz.
My name is Antonio Reyes.
And we are back with another episode. I think it's 28. I'm going to go with that. Pretty sure.
Yeah, sure. Why not? We're in the 20s. I know that for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, I'm proud of us. We've stayed consistent. We've done.
Hey, look, it's not easy. It's not
No
easy
way.
to push through almost 30 episodes.
Yeah.
You know, like being committed and consistent with it. I know with schedules and life and pandemic and so many other things, we have tried to push through it. So I see it as a victory.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, man. Consistency is key. We are not talking about consistency today,
Right.
but it's still key. Today we want to talk about. I'm trying to remember the topic off the top of my head. No, I got it.
Yeah.
It was my idea.
You forgot about it.
So I literally had this random thought, but I think it's connected to, I'm in the business world a bit with with my job and even just, with doing music and clothing and all that stuff, even doing this podcast, all that stuff is business related. And I had this thought that came to my mind regarding, there's this idea in business specifically.
Yeah.
I actually heard this a lot when I was in my undergrad, getting my degree. Especially corporate America, it's like this cutthroat mentality.
Yeah.
And so I just I was listening to another podcast, and I just had this thought come to my mind as far as I feel like there's two types of people in the world that view either value money and doing whatever it takes to get that to be successful.
Yeah.
And there's also this other kind of mindset or philosophy that it's about relationships.
Right.
It's about people. It's about connections, which is another big kind of topic as far as networking. It's not about what you know. It's about who you know. And there's a lot to be said for being able to get ahead in life through your connections and people that you meet. So I just, I thought that would be a really interesting conversation as far as, talking about the differences, maybe, what that looks like. What do you think about, those that value just kind of doing whatever it takes to be successful despite who they might hurt, who they might cut off, who they might step over, versus those who kind of can hold their integrity, value the people around them, but also utilizing those connections,
I think there has been a question that I usually ask business owners because I want to know how they process these things.
Yeah.
And specifically Christian business owners.
Yeah.
Because I want to know how they process this kind of stuff. And I agree that there's this tension, between how do we handle things? Is business just business?
Yeah.
Or can we care for people and can we care for the feelings and the emotions of the person, And I think that if you ask me personally, my personality and my faith informs me that I should care more for people than making money.
Yeah.
But I know that there's this tension where you need to learn how to handle it. Now, I remember I was having a conversation with an uncle of mine, and he owns a business. And he was telling me, we're talking about money and even, he doesn't have a lot of knowledge about how churches work on stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he can be pretty cynical in the way he processes life and the way he sees life and even business. But he cares for people. He does care for people. I've seen it. He loves people, man. He gives a lot of opportunities, sometimes way too much. But anyways, he was telling me one day, he was like, no, you can't, when it comes into money and handling your business, you can't just care for people. The business is business and money is money. So you just have to make tough decisions.
Yeah.
And so I was sharing with him, I was like, look, I understand that. I was like, but I know people that are smart. They are all about numbers and they care for people. I can keep we both know Pastor Robert Aboites, right?
Yeah.
He's big on numbers. He's a man that intimidates the crap out of me, man. Like, I can't, like, it's crazy. But, you know, he's a smart guy. But also, I see his kindness and his compassion for people, you know? He is not a person that would care more for the numbers than the person. Yeah. I can see that. I know that he will be able to take tough decisions when you have to make tough decisions. But the reality to me is that, to me, we building a nation or a society where this whole idea of relationship equity, you know, I understand what it's about, but it can become a lot about, I'm going to use you rather than we're going to partner up with this. Does that make sense? Yeah. And that's what concerns me, that it becomes more about a transactional thing rather than friendships and caring for each other. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I think that, you know, to me, there's no one is right, one is wrong necessarily.
Of course.
Because I think what you're saying is the reality of when you're running a business or being in that environment, tough decisions have to be made.
Of course.
That will affect people and that will affect them in a way that may be negative.
Yep.
But I think there's a difference between making tough decisions so for example, I mean, I think this past year has been a great example of that. Plenty of people that have gotten laid off from their jobs, plenty of people that, you know, even at where I work, like at a university, you know, they tried so long to not have to let people go. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you know, they made it very clear. We just don't have the money to pay for everyone. Is that a hard decision to make? Yeah. Is that disregarding people? No. It's just the reality of business, right? So I think there's a difference between making tough decisions and still being in a position of valuing people and relationships. I think that ultimately there's this idea that, and I think it comes down to, especially people that are running their own business, is when you value, or your number one goal is to make as much money as you can, no matter what. Yeah. And I think when you have that type of mentality, that's when you will eventually start doing things that are unethical or hurtful to people, or being dirty, or doing all those things that people might call, that's what it means to do business. So I think that's a very important distinction, because I think that's the question that we have to ask ourselves is, how much is enough? Is what is our true desire? What is our true goal? And to me, people that understand what the definition or what it means to, like, actually what business is, it's to provide a product, to provide a service for people. So if you're doing that, it's kind of ironic that you would cut people off, hurt people, you know, do all these things that are kind of contrary to the true mission of serving or providing a product.
You know, so, man, such a great conversation, because, yes, I agree, because when money becomes your drive, it's just, you don't care. You're willing to take shortcuts. Don't matter who you take with you, and you know, if you hurt people, you hurt people. That's what it is. As long as you accomplish what you want. That's, man. I don't want to generalize this thing, but that's the hustle mentality many times. You know, like you don't care who you take, you just go for it. You know, now, but I also see the beauty in the organizations that actually value people. Now, I think I was talking to and I know him, like, his name is Stefan, right? Him and his wife work for Chick Fil-A. And they were actually applying to get a Chick Fil-A franchise of Chick Fil-A, you know? And then amongst those conversations, I don't know if you were there, but I remember having a conversation with him, and he was sharing that one of the people that they know, he got a franchise, and he was very young. He was in his 20s. And for the ones who know, to get a franchise with Chick-fil-A is very rough.
It's tough.
Not because they don't want to give it to you, but they want to know that you're ready for it. So that was kind of like the can you handle this? Do you have the capacity? they check your bank accounts, your transactions. They check, like, do you have a certain amount saved? So many other things, right?
Yeah.
And you need a certain amount of years working with them. To me, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I know it's tough, but it's beautiful because they care not just for you getting a franchise and them getting money, but they care for you too. So I remember he was telling me, they asked the 20-year-old kid, young person.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, look, he passed through it.
That's how you know we're old, huh?
Right.
The 20-year-old kid.
20-year-old kid. I swear, like I'm 30.
Sorry, I was like.
So there were. He actually went through all the stages. He passed through it, and I think they asked him, hey, I think one of the main guys asked him, look, I mean, you passed through it, but he's like, you need to be ready. Can you handle getting that much income?
Yeah.
I need you to be ready.
Yeah.
Emotionally, in many levels, you need to be ready to handle this. For many of us, we can handle it. If we think about it, it's, oh yeah, sure, I can handle it. Why not?
Yeah.
But that's not true, So to me, they're a clear example of caring for people, not just caring for what they offer.
Yeah.
And what they offer is a great product, because I remember, I think 2 years ago, Chick Fil-a was on the top 3 organizations that people wanted to work for. Yeah. And I think also they millennials love to go to those places because of the culture that they have, because they care for people genuinely, right?
Yeah.
So I know I went to like a freaking went around, but what I'm trying to say is that I see how the organizations that care for people, they're all standing.
Yeah.
And they're unique, but also, they're shining among a lot of other stuff, a lot of other organizations.
No, it's a good example because it proves that you can be successful with a model like that. And that's the lie that I think people buy into, is that you can't be successful unless you're willing to do things that are contrary to your character or something like that. Which is, again, it's a very different model with franchises, because most franchises are, if you want to be a part of this business, sure, just pay for it. As long as you got the money, we'll give you a franchise. And the reality is there are plenty of companies that are nowhere near as big as Chick Fil-a. And they have the other model, is it doesn't matter. We don't care who you are. We don't care about your character. We don't care about your family. We don't care if you can handle it. We just care about if you're willing to pay to be able to be a part of this, and we're going to be able to profit from you being a part of this franchise. Where Chick Fil-a's model is more focused on, we want to make sure that you are able to are mature enough, you're a person that's going to represent the company, and all of those things fall in line. And that's really great, honestly. I mean, that's really, really cool, unique model. And it's important to be able to have businesses like that that can show that it's possible to be successful, and maintain integrity and things like that.
And man, I'm gonna speak for my culture, the Latino culture. I know that every culture has their own issues, but a lot of our people that come from their countries to work into this nation, they come and work, and some of them, they actually make quite a bit of money, so I was talking to a cousin that he works for someone else, that he was working, I'm not quite sure if in the landscaping business or something like that, but the guy was making a lot of money. He had a lot of projects, and I think my cousin and other people were working for him, but he didn't pay them for a long time. So my dude was making a lot of money. He was having his houses and so on, but he was not paying his workers.
It's not gonna work.
He didn't care. He just went at it, So there's this you're desensitized. That's what I said. Desensitized sometimes to care for people. And you don't care if you take advantage of people. You just go for it because other people do it. You make excuses why you do it. So I think that's a mentality that we need to break, because I believe that that's not sustainable. And one day you're gonna pay for it.
Yep.
One day you're gonna pay for it some way or another.
Yeah.
It's gonna come and bite you in the butt. To you or to your family, and your legacy is gonna come and bite in the butt.
Which is ironic because the businesses and the companies that are that have the most longevity, the ones that people want to work for the most, are the ones that take care of their employees, because they understand that the only reason they're able to function and run in the way that they are is because they have valuable people who are working for them.
Yep.
So when you have a company that takes care of you as an employee, like, there's high value there. It makes you want to do your job well. It makes the company run better. So it's like ironic that, like, they would not pay their employees when it's like, and it's funny because to me that, again, it goes back to your mindset. It's this like scarcity mentality. And I know a lot of people, especially in like, Hispanic communities and things like that, people of color, it's like, it's a poverty mentality, right? Like you see all this money coming in, you're like, man, I don't want to lose it. Like,
you're just trying to protect it.
Yeah, you're trying to protect it. I don't want to if I give them the money, now I'm down. And it's hard. It's hard to run a business. Hard to, when you realize like the profit comes in, there's not as much as you think, but that's where I think understand that you're investing into these things, and if you believe in the business, you believe in what you're doing, that growth is a big part of that. So it's just challenging, to be in that position.
And I think when you are in the side of the person that protects and cares for people, right? If let's say you're the owner, or you're the leader, or you're the one with the responsibility having other people under you, when you show that you care for them, you build in them loyalty to some people, right? I know that we lack a lot of loyalty right now and commitment. But I feel like, at least in a personal level, when I see someone that cares for me, you are winning me over. Say, well, I'm down. Whatever that means, whatever that looks like, I'm with it. I'm gonna go with you because I see that you care for me. And I think a lot of organizations, they experience the lack of commitment and loyalty also because they don't show that they care for people. So I remember I was working for an organization, and I would have to check statements of the boss. I would have to fill some forms out because I had to like submit it, and he would submit all his credit card transactions that the organization will pay for him, right? And the organization was not doing well financially. Also, I was not getting paid well, for all that I was doing. That was not even my responsibility. But anyways,
we all been there, right?
Right. So in that process, I would see how much money that person would spend traveling, eating out,
doing a bunch of stuff you shouldn't have been doing, huh?
Look, if the organization was thriving and you care for people, I don't mind. Like, go for it. But when we were like struggling and people were losing their jobs, and the people that you care and you're supposed to protect, they're not having enough money but you're like giving yourself a life of like luxury. Like, that's what it bothers me, right? So to me, that you lost my loyalty right there, like, because I will see all that. I will see every time that I will have to go through the statements, and I was like, see, what's wrong with these people? I don't know if they don't process it, if they don't value people out, But anyways, I think that when you actually, but I've been in the other side where I have worked under someone and people that care for me, that even let go of their salary to protect us. So to me, it's like, see, I'm down. I'm with it. Even if I lose my job, you're going to have my time and my attention, know?
Yeah. And I think, kind of looking at this too from like a different perspective, as far as, because we've been talking a lot about, running a business or being in that perspective, but also when you're someone who, like, kind of like what you just talked about, being an employee and trying to like come up and make moves and move forward in your career. A lot of times people feel like they have to make other people look bad in order for them to get opportunities to move up and move forward. And, that's a really big thing. I think that even if it's in little ways, like, you know, to try to like, you know, talk bad about you in the office or whatever. Like I've had situations like that where, you know, you might do something, especially with social media now and stuff, and like, you know, you post something and whatever, like it's just, it can be bad, you know? And I think that it's important for when you think about these situations, it's I think that sometimes people think that, and maybe because maybe it's like a lack of confidence in themselves, or realizing that maybe they don't have like the skills or whatever it is. But I think that the reality is that you can show your value in a company, and that by simply doing your work and going above and beyond in your work, versus having to make someone else look bad in order for you to shine. And that's where it's like that mentality of like, where is your value at? Where is your head at when it comes to being able to be successful? Are you willing to just put in the work? And I think a lot of times people aren't willing. They don't want to put in the work. And I think that's where, like, I mean, I could guess that, you know, the boss you had who was spending all that money that they didn't have was probably someone like that in that position, who probably didn't deserve to be there, probably did a lot of shady things to get there. And now he's in that position, and guess what he's doing? More shady things. And, you know, proving that ultimately the character was messed up from the beginning. And that's the thing where I think business can get really wonky and stuff, is that, you know, people who can get ahead for the wrong reasons, people who could be likable, but they're not actually good at their job, you know, stuff like that. I mean, it's just, there's so many different examples. You know, my brother gave me a really good example one time of one of his bosses, who was literally like overlooking him, was only his boss because his like dad was like the owner of the company or something like that, you know, and the guy like didn't even know as much as my brother did about, so he would ask him like, you know, what did he think, what he should do, and never like showed up to meetings and all this stuff, but yet he was the boss. And I remember my brother telling me like he was so frustrated because it's like, you know, this guy doesn't do anything. And he just walks in when he wants to, but he's the boss, and he's probably making more money than me and all this stuff. And it was just like, you know, being in those situations can be really frustrating, right?
I agree when you are in a place where it's like, you know how to play the game, you know how to like, and that's exactly in that same organization that happened to me, because I applied for a higher opportunity, for a higher position, you know, and but I was not willing to play the game. You know, I was not willing to play the game of the politics of the organization. So I didn't get the game. And the person who got it, that's what he does. That he does know how to play the game. I worked with him several times, and I was like, you know, like, yeah, man, like I know you know how to play the game. That's fine. If you that's what you want to do. For me, I can't. I'm by nature, I reveal to it, like, I don't want to play, I don't want to keep going with the same. So anyways, I think that I agree. I think it's very unfortunately, and like, it's tough to be in a space like that. And
I think that's what, if I had to say something as far as like this new generation of you know, of people, you know, young people coming up and, you know, now entering the workforce and everything, I believe that they're going to be those types of people that aren't going to stand for things like that. You know, that they're going to be able to kind of navigate in this world in a way that we're going to see less of that, because we're not going to allow people to just simply get ahead and call out situations that are just simply wrong. So, you know, I think that's something that's really important, because I think there is, in a sense, and it could be, I don't know if it's because it's a higher value of relationships, or if it's just simply a higher value of calling out injustices, you know, which is important. You know, I think the problem with money in business is that it can corrupt people. It puts them in a place where, you know, they feel like they have power and they have these things and they're better than people. And I think that's what's really something that's important when you have a high value of relationships, is you understand that no one is necessarily above someone else. And that's where, you know, you can walk into a room and truly love on people and truly care about people and do your job well, and be able to move forward and find success.
I mean, in my last thoughts, you know, I was listening to a conversation with the guru of how do you say guru?
Yeah, guru.
of leadership, John Maxwell.
Yeah.
And they were asking him, like, they were just having a great conversation about leadership. There's great nuggets in it. And one of the things he said, he was like, the moment you stop caring for people and leadership, do yourself a favor, stop leading.
Yeah.
Don't. And because like caring for people is more important. Yeah. So so I think that's very, very key. I think I feel like that's a huge thing. The moment you start caring for people, man, and your drive start becoming something else, that can be very painful, because you're gonna start hurting people around you, and because you don't care. Yeah, you no longer care for the people around you.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, because to me that's exactly the difference between someone who is more focused on just simply doing whatever it takes to get ahead versus someone who values relationships. Is that when you're in that perspective of doing whatever it takes, you're really only focusing on yourself. Yep. You're really only the only person you really care about is yourself. Whereas when you're in a place where you could actually see the value in relationships, you're okay with maybe, in a sense, not making it to the highest of highest levels, because you know that you might be able to have impact in different ways. Like, the perspective of not everyone is meant to be a CEO. Not everyone's meant to be, the vice president of a company. Not everyone's meant to be the president. Like, you're able to find yourself in a position of, no, this is where I thrive. This is where I can make the most impact. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's not the highest level, but it's where I can be the most effective. Mm-hmm. So
I agree, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much we could go with this conversation, but I think it's really cool, man. I think, the cool thing about this is, like you said, we all have our own experiences, our own, stories of just being in situations like that, where, you know what it's like to start from the bottom. You know what it's like to see other people in those situations. I think it's important that we can learn from those perspectives. Yeah,
I agree completely. But it was like you say, we can go different routes. The important thing is, is like caring for people. Yeah. When Jesus was walking on earth, he could carry about commandments, laws, rules, but he cared more about people than anything else. Yep. And if the most powerful being that walked here on earth, and the person that split time in two, care more about people, I think we should take that into consideration.
I love it, man. Yep. I love it. Well, this is the Soul Tapes podcast. Thank you for listening. If you've tuned in this far, we'll see you guys next time.
We out, family.
Lately I've been staring at the stars, but I don't thank the universe at all. I thank God, holding weight over my shoulders like life is a competition, but nobody's really far ahead. They good at just pretending.